An Arizona judge mocked Senate candidate Kari Lake after her latest attempt to challenge her gubernatorial election. Yes, the one that she lost back in 2022. You know, I genuinely had no idea that Kari Lake was still engaged in litigation when it comes to her failed gubernatorial election back in the 2022 midterms, but apparently she is crazy. She's on to her third lawsuit. I think it is related to that election. Ridiculous. Just can't let go. Kari, you lost. And now you're running for another office. What the heck are you doing? And the judge's response to this latest lawsuit was fantastic. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, as a reminder, who is Kari Lake? She is a MAGA Republican who is looking like the presumptive nominee for the Republican nomination for Senate in Arizona, where she'll be going up against Kyrsten Sinema as an independent and Ruben Gallego as the Democrat. Kari Lake ran for governor in 2022, lost to the Democrat Katie Hobbs, and that's the election that she's obsessed with. And like Trump, after she lost, she started saying that her election was stolen and it was rigged and there was all this voter fraud, big massive dumps of ballots, as Trump said. And she's now had more than a year to bring forward evidence and just hasn't been able to do it and has lost court case after court case, just like Trump. So while I guess still challenging that election, she started running in a new one. And on this latest lawsuit, the Arizona Republic reports, Maricopa County Superior Court Judge John Hanna said the voters' right to privacy, freedom from harassment, and fear of identity theft outweighs Lake's right to continue her year-long temper tantrum. And the author notes that's their words, not the judges. The judge's 12-page ruling was brutal, noting that Lake, who lost her trials to overturn the election, can't keep inventing new claims as she searches for her fairy tale ending. Oof. Quote, Miss Lake regards the electoral process much like the villagers in the famous fable regarded the goose that laid the golden egg, except that her goose failed to lay the egg she expected. This is awesome. She insists that something must have gone wrong. If only she could have cut open the electoral process and examined each of its 1.3 million pieces. She says she would be able to figure out what happened and show that the prize has been there waiting for her all along. So there we go. Yet another legal loss for Kari Lake, but this time pretty brutal from the judge. Love to see it. The thing is, as we watch all of this play out, for us, it seems so obviously humiliating, right? Judges admonishing her left and right, no evidence being able to be brought forward to prove what she's saying. But among MAGA voters, all of this nonsense, that's Kari Lake being a warrior, fighting for justice in her election. It's very strange. By the way, one of the most convenient conspiracy theories in political history. Hey, what if, like, get this, anytime I lose, the election was stolen. Anytime I win, it was legitimate. So I always win. Heads, you lose. Tails, I win. Yikes. Now I want to remind you of a clip we previously discussed of Kari Lake recently being confronted over her election lies by anti-Trump Republican Tim Miller. And Tim Miller accurately makes the point that if people like Kari Lake and others actually cared about these other issues that they say they care about, like fentanyl deaths, for example, then they would stop wasting time and spreading lies about our democracy and get to work on those issues, campaign on those issues, stop lying about our democracy. Here's a reminder of how that played out.
I'm not okay with that. I want you to be able to talk whatever you guys say on the circus. I want to be able to have conservative students not being shamed on our universities.
This is like a golden age for conservative student speech. It's like, it's the best time ever. If you're a conservative student, you want to talk, you have huge platforms. I went to watch you speak at Turning Point USA. All these kids have huge audiences that come to see them, and that's great, that's fine. They're all speaking. Their speech isn't as a threat. There weren't any cops coming to shut down the Turning Point USA thing. But here's the thing. You say you care about the fentanyl crisis and our kids.
I care deeply. Okay, right.
So if you care so deeply about this, couldn't you actually do something about it if you stopped the bullshit about the last election? If you had just acknowledged that Trump had lost and acknowledged that you had lost, you'd probably be in good shape to do something. you probably would have won your governor's race had you just talked about things people cared about instead of the election fraud. So sometimes don't you ever think to yourself, I wish I could just stop talking about this fake thing that Donald Trump made me make up so that I could actually talk about the stuff that's important? Because we agree about fentanyl. I agree. I wish we could deal with that.
I talked about that all the time at the campaign trail. I'm sorry you weren't with me.
You.
I'm sorry you weren't with me every step of the way. The people of Arizona understand me, and they know me, and they care about me, and I care about them.
You.
And I care about them. Getting them better, freeing the people who are held political prisoners, yeah. Absolutely.
Right. I think you are still a little extreme. That's okay, though. It's good to see you again.
It's wonderful
to see you.
That's right. I'd love to.
We have some areas of agreement.
Love to.
We agree on the fentanyl thing.
And
then you get into the other stuff.
Oh,
but the other
stuff is what you have
to do.
I'm sorry I'm not making you happy.
The other stuff is what I don't know why you're touching me. The other stuff is what you have to do to win, is the thing.
Sorry, I'm a mom. I'm sorry, I'm a mom.
That's okay. I like to touch too, but in an interview setting, it's a little uncomfortable.
I'm sorry that we don't agree on everything, but what I am not sorry about is that I think that I do believe that we can agree that we both love America.
We do. Well, I know that I love America. I do think that you were okay with Donald Trump trying to end the American experiment last time, so that makes me wonder how sincere your love is. But I do appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Good. Thank you for your time.
It's really frightening to think about how long all of these notions will stick around. Even once Kari Lake and Trump are politically irrelevant, how permanently will a certain population in this country just not believe in our elections and have that ideology in mind? If their preferred candidate wins, then all's well. If they lose, then it was stolen. And we talked about in a past segment, Rachel Maddow making the point that this sort of election denying, especially coming from Trump and the ways that he's been doing it, is part of a broader authoritarian goal. If you can get people to believe that elections just aren't working, that any MAGA Republican who loses had their election stolen from them, absolutely, even if we can't prove it with evidence, then you convince them that maybe elections aren't the best way to select leaders. And I know for a lot of people, when I say things like that, oh, it sounds hyperbole, oh, that's a little bit too much. But that's exactly what Trump wanted to do in 2020. The election happened. He said, no, I should stay in power instead of what the voters actually decided. So he believed he should have more power in saying who gets to be the president than the people. Here's a reminder of Trump's former lawyer, Jenna Ellis, making this very clear.
Okay. And at the time period where they were going to start to discuss, what was Dan Scavino's role?
At the time, I believe his title was social media director for the White House. It became deputy chief of staff at the time that the conversation in question took place.
Okay, and when was that?
The conversation was around December 19th of 2020 at the White House Christmas party. And I emphasized him. I thought that the claims and the ability to challenge the election results was essentially over, because he said to me in a kind of excited tone, well, we don't care and we're not going to leave. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, the boss, meaning President Trump, and everyone understood the boss, that's what we all called him. He said the boss is not going to leave under any circumstances. We are just going to stay in power. And I said to him, well, it doesn't quite work that way, you realize. And he said, we don't care.
The plan was just to stay in power by whatever means necessary. Throw out the election results. And all these different schemes, they tried to implement the fake elector scheme, the blocking of the certification plan with Mike Pence, trying to get local election officials to overturn the results. He's now being prosecuted for those actions because they were likely against the law. That's how severe this is. And here's Liz Cheney with a stark warning.
You say Donald Trump, if he is reelected, it will be the end of the republic. What do you mean?
He's told us what he will do. It's very easy to see the steps that he will take. People who say, well, if he's elected, it's not that dangerous because we have all of these checks and balances, don't fully understand the extent to which the Republicans in Congress today have been co-opted. One of the things that we see happening today is a sort of a sleepwalking into dictatorship in the United States.
It's very real as it gets. And all of those actions back in 2020 and 2021 and trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, all the actions Trump is going to justify if he gets a second term, so many of them are built on the big lie. And that's why it's so important that we completely reject across the board these lies wherever they pop up. Quickly before you go, a while back I got on Trump's campaign's email list, went to some event to interview Trump supporters and put my email into the sign up thing, and so started getting those emails. And at least a while ago, there was this one format that the Trump campaign was sent out where it would try to make it seem like for Trump's supporters, Trump had a list of names of people who were supporting the campaign. And if their name wasn't on it, then Trump was going to be upset. And it would say something like, tomorrow Trump's going to go through the list of names of people who support the campaign, who have donated, and he's going to know if your name's not on it. Do you want him to be upset? That something like that. It was crazy. So I'll say, you can go to lukebeaslyshow.com/membership, become a member. And tomorrow I'm going to be looking at a list of names of people who are members. If your name's not on it, we're going to have a problem. lukebeaslyshow.com/membership. Just kidding. Do it if you want. Plus, follow me on Threads at LukeBeasOfficial, Instagram at LukeBeasOfficial, X at LukeBeasley, and sign up for the Beasley Brief, a daily morning newsletter that summarizes the previous day's events by going to lukebeaslyshow.com/brief. So many links. Just, I don't know. Look in the description of the YouTube video and find your way. I'll talk to you soon.